The stars looked different from the command deck of the human ship Unity. Ambassador Dae-ho Kim pressed his face against the thick glass window and watched the massive space station grow larger as they approached. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth. Its metal towers stretched in all directions, glowing with lights from a dozen different alien civilizations. "First time seeing it?" asked Dr. Soo-Jin Park, walking up beside him. She carried a thick folder filled with research papers about the alien species they were about to meet. "Yes," Dae-ho replied. "It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Captain?" Ji-Woo Lee's voice crackled over the ship's speakers. "All passengers, we'll be docking in 10 minutes. Please prepare for arrival." Dae-ho straightened his diplomatic uniform and checked his appearance one more time. This was the most important moment in human history. After 300 years of watching Earth from the shadows, the Galactic Council had finally invited humanity to join them. No other species had ever received such an honor so quickly after achieving space travel. Dr. Hyun-Soo Choi, the mission's chief scientist, rushed over with a small device in his hands. "Ambassador, the translation unit is working perfectly. We tested it with all 12 Council languages." "Good," Dae-ho said. "We can't afford any misunderstandings." The Unity shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Through the window, Dae-ho could see alien workers moving around the dock. Some looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the station's light. Others had too many arms and moved like spiders. One group had skin that seemed to shift colors constantly. Engineer Min-ho Yoon joined them at the window. "I've never seen technology like this," he whispered. "Look at how smoothly everything moves. Their machines are incredible." "That's why we're here," Soo-Jin said, "to learn from them and share what we know." Captain Ji-Woo appeared in the doorway. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. "The Council's representatives are waiting for us. They sent a welcome party." Dae-ho picked up the ceremonial box containing gifts from Earth. Inside were recordings of human music, samples of Earth's art, and data about humanity's scientific discoveries. Every item had been chosen carefully to show the best of human culture. They walked through the ship's corridors toward the airlock. The crew they passed looked nervous but excited. This mission would determine humanity's future among the stars. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Dae-ho stepped onto the station first, followed by his team. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet he couldn't identify. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's. 3 aliens waited for them in the docking bay. The first looked like a walking tree made of crystal. Its voice sounded like wind chimes when it spoke. "Welcome, humans. I am Philosopher Prime Veltar of the Vorthak Collective." The second alien stood twice as tall as any human. Its skin was dark red, and it wore what looked like military armor. "I am War Marshal Kethvar of the Drekken Empire." Its voice was deep and rough. The third alien was the strangest. It seemed to be made of flowing water, but Dae-ho could see it was solid. "We are Sub-Voice Thaisara of the Zephyrian Collective. We speak for the many." Dae-ho bowed respectfully. "I am Ambassador Dae-ho Kim, representing the people of Earth. We are honored by your invitation." "Yes," Veltar said, its crystal body ringing softly. "The Council has watched your species with great interest. You have achieved much in a short time." "Too much, perhaps," Kethvar growled. "Your kind develops weapons quickly." "All species do," Dae-ho replied carefully. "But we also develop art, science, and philosophy." "We shall see," Thaisara said. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The Council will judge if humanity is ready to join the galactic community." They walked through the station's corridors. Dae-ho tried not to stare at the other aliens they passed. Some floated instead of walking. Others had too many eyes or no eyes at all. The diversity was amazing. Your station is incredible, Dr. Hyun-soo said. How long did it take to build? 500 of your years, Veltar replied. It represents the combined knowledge of all council species. Impressive, Soo-jin said, making notes in her tablet. The engineering alone must have required unprecedented cooperation. The council has existed for over 1,000 years, Kethvar said. We have learned to work together for the greater good. They entered a large chamber with a ceiling that seemed to stretch forever upward. 12 different sections surrounded a central platform, each designed for a different alien species. The humans were led to a small area with chairs that looked almost human-sized. Wait here, Thaisara said. The council will see you soon. As the aliens left, Daeho's team gathered close together. What do you think? He asked quietly. They seem cautious, Jiwoo said. Maybe even suspicious. That's normal, Soo-jin replied. We're the new species. They probably want to make sure we're not dangerous. Minho looked around at the impressive technology surrounding them. I hope they'll share some of their knowledge with us. Imagine what we could learn. And what we could teach them, Hyun-soo added. Human creativity might offer perspectives they haven't considered. Communications officer. So Young-han, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. I'm recording everything. Earth will want to know every detail of this meeting. A deep sound echoed through the chamber, like a bell being struck. Lights began to glow in each of the 12 sections. Aliens of different shapes and sizes took their places. Some walked, others floated, and a few seemed to materialize out of thin air. The Council of 12 will now convene, a voice announced in perfect English. Let the evaluation of the human species begin. Daeho stood up, straightening. His uniform one final time. His team rose with him. They had prepared for this moment for years. Humanity's future among the stars would be decided in the next few hours. The largest alien, sitting in the center position, raised what might have been an arm. Humans of Earth, it said in a voice like thunder. You have been brought before this council to determine your worthiness to join the galactic community. The process will test your species in ways you cannot imagine. Daeho felt a chill run down his spine. Something in the alien's tone suggested this wouldn't be the friendly welcome they had expected. The first test came 3 hours after the council meeting began. Ambassador Daeho Kim watched as a section of the floor opened up, revealing a complex machine with blinking lights and spinning parts. Show us your greatest technological achievement, demanded the crystal alien, philosopher Prime Veltar. Prove that your species deserves to stand among the stars. Engineer Minho Yoon stepped forward with confidence. He had brought humanity's newest fusion reactor design, a breakthrough that could power entire cities with clean energy. The device was small, but contained years of human innovation. This is our latest fusion reactor, Minho said, placing the device on the platform. It produces unlimited clean energy and could solve power problems for any civilization. The 12 council members leaned forward to examine the device. For a moment, Minho felt proud. Then he heard something that made his heart sink. Laughter. War Marshal. Kethvar of the Drekken Empire made a sound like grinding metal. This is what humans consider advanced? We mastered fusion power before your species learned to make fire. Primitive, agreed another council member, a floating jellyfish-like creature. Our children build better reactors in their spare time. Minho's face turned red. But this design is completely new. We created it ourselves without any outside help. How adorable, Veltar said, its crystal body chiming with amusement. Like a child showing off a mud pie to adults. Dr. Hyun-soo Choi stepped up next. He carried a device that looked like a small crystal cube. Perhaps you'd be interested in our quantum communication system. It allows instant communication across any distance. He activated the device, and it began to glow softly. "This message is being sent to Earth right now, faster than light, with no delay." The council members exchanged glances. For a moment, Hyun-Soo thought he had impressed them. "Interesting," Veltar said finally, "but ultimately useless. Your quantum entanglement is unstable. The message will probably arrive corrupted if it arrives at all." "Actually, our success rate is 98%, Hyun-Soo said. 98%? The jellyfish creature made a bubbling sound. "Our systems achieve perfect transmission every time. Anything less than perfection is failure." Dae-ho could see his team growing frustrated. Dr. Soo-Jin Park stepped forward. "With her biological research, we've made significant advances in genetic medicine," she said. "We can cure diseases that once killed millions of our people." She showed them data about human medical achievements, cancer treatments, genetic repair, life extension technology. On Earth, these discoveries were considered miracles. "Medicine?" Kethvar growled. "Your species still gets sick? How weak! Dreekan warriors removed such flaws from our genetics thousands of years ago." "The Zephyrian collective has no need for individual medicine," added sub-voice Thisara. "We share one perfect health across all our minds." "But our approach allows for individual choice," Soo-Jin said desperately. "Each person can decide their own medical treatment." "Individual choice," Veltar repeated, as if the words tasted bad. "How chaotic, how inefficient. No wonder your species struggles with such simple problems." Communications Officer So Young-han had been recording everything. She could see the pattern now. Every human achievement was being dismissed or insulted. This wasn't a test of human capabilities. It was a deliberate humiliation. The worst came when they asked about human society and government. "Tell us about your political systems," commanded the largest council member, a creature that looked like a mountain of living rock. "How do you organize your civilization?" Dae-ho had prepared for this question. "We have many different systems, democracies, republics, federations. People in different regions choose the government that works best for them." Silence filled the chamber. "Many systems?" Thisara's voice carried disbelief. "Your species cannot agree on one correct way to live." "We believe diversity makes us stronger," Dae-ho explained. "Different approaches let us solve problems in creative ways." More laughter echoed through the chamber. "Chaos," Kethvar declared. "No wonder humans fight wars among themselves. A properly organized species has one government, one military, one purpose." "The Vorthak achieved perfect philosophical unity eons ago," Veltar added. "We think as one mind toward one goal. Your diversity is evidence of immaturity." "But our different cultures create art, music, and literature," Soo-Jin said. "Doesn't that have value?" "Art?" The jellyfish creature's tentacles wiggled with amusement. "We have seen your art. Crude paintings and simple melodies. Real art comes from species with thousands of years of refinement." Minho felt his anger building. "If our technology is so primitive, why did you invite us here?" The council chamber fell quiet. The 12 aliens looked at each other, and Dae-ho suddenly understood. This had never been about welcoming humanity as equals. Veltar's crystal body chimed softly. "You are here because the council has decided humanity may have potential under proper guidance." "Guidance?" Captain Ji-Woo Lee had been quiet until now, but her military training told her where this was heading. "Yes," Kethvar growled. "The Council is prepared to accept humanity as a client species. You will be given tasks appropriate to your current development level." "Client species?" Dae-ho asked. "A junior member," Thisara explained. "You will follow Council directives. Provide resources when requested. Learn proper behavior from your betters." "In time," Veltar continued, "perhaps in a few thousand years, you might advance to full membership, if you prove worthy. The humans, looked at each other. This wasn't an invitation to join a community of equals, it was an offer of servitude. What kind of tasks? So, Young asked quietly. Mining operations in dangerous systems, Kethvar said. Exploration of unstable regions, military support when needed. Dangerous work that established species prefer not to do themselves, the rock creature added helpfully. Deho felt something cold settle in his stomach. And if we refuse? Refuse? Veltar's chiming sounded surprised. Why would you refuse? This is the greatest honor your species could receive. Many species would fight wars for such an opportunity, Thesara added. You will return to Earth, Kethvar continued, and inform your leaders of the Council's generous offer. We expect an answer within 1 standard year. The Council members began to leave their positions. The meeting was over. Deho stood there with his team, watching the aliens file out. They had come here hoping to join a community of friends. Instead, they had been offered the chance to become servants. Ambassador, Jiwoo said quietly, what do we tell Earth? Deho looked around at the impressive chamber, at the advanced technology, at the evidence of the Council's power. Then he looked at his team, at their anger, their disappointment, their hurt. We tell them the truth, he said finally. We tell them exactly what happened here. 3 days passed before the Council called for the final ceremony. Ambassador Deho Kim had spent those days thinking about everything that had happened. His team was angry, but they were also scared. Walking away from the Council meant walking away from all their advanced technology and knowledge. Maybe we should consider their offer, Dr. Hyun-Soo Choi said during their morning meeting. Being a client species isn't ideal, but we could learn so much from them. Learn what? Engineer Min Ho-yoon snapped. How to be better servants. They've made it clear they think we're barely smarter than animals. Dr. Soo-jin Park looked tired. She had been studying the Council's client species agreements all night. I read their treaties. Client species have no rights. They can't make their own laws. They can't trade with other species without permission. They become property. Communications Officer So Young-han had been recording everything, as always. The way they talked to us yesterday was even worse. They called humans useful pets when they thought we couldn't hear them. Captain Ji-woo Lee had been quiet, but now she spoke. My crew is ready to leave anytime you give the word, Ambassador. We don't have to stay for their ceremony. Deho looked around the room at his team. These were some of Earth's best people. Scientists, engineers, diplomats, soldiers, and the Council treated them like children begging for scraps. A chime sounded through their quarters. The Council requests the presence of the human delegation, an artificial voice announced. The ceremony of acceptance will begin in 1 hour. Deho stood up. Get ready, everyone. It's time to give them our answer. The ceremony took place in the largest chamber of Nexus Prime. Thousands of aliens filled the viewing areas. Deho realized this was being broadcast across the galaxy. The Council wanted everyone to see humanity submit. The 12 Council members sat on raised platforms, looking down at the humans like judges. In the center of the chamber was a small platform with what looked like a kneeling cushion, Philosopher Prime. Veltar's crystal body rang like a bell. Citizens of the galaxy, today we welcome a new client species to our great community. The crowd made various sounds that might have been cheering. The human species has shown potential, War Marshal Kethvar growled. Under proper guidance, they may someday contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization. Sub-voice Thysara floated forward. The ceremony is simple. The human leader will kneel before the Council, renounce their species' claim to independence, and accept the wisdom of their betters. Deho felt his heart pounding. He looked at his team one more time. Minho gave him a small nod. Soo-jin squeezed his shoulder. Jiwoo touched her hand to her heart in a military salute. Ambassador Deho Kim of Earth, Veltar announced. Approach the platform. Deho walked slowly across the chamber floor. Each step echoed in the silence. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. He could feel the weight of history on his shoulders. He reached the platform and looked up at the 12 council members. They stared down at him with expressions that might have been smug satisfaction. "Kneel," Kethvar commanded. Deho looked at the cushion. Then he looked back up at the council. "No!" The chamber erupted in shocked sounds. The council members leaned forward. "What did you say?" Veltar's chiming sounded sharp and angry. Deho raised his voice so everyone in the chamber could hear him. "I said no! We came here as equals seeking friends. We refused to stay as servants begging for scraps." The largest council member, the rock creature, rumbled with anger. "You dare refuse the council's generous offer?" "Generous?" Deho laughed, and the sound carried across the silent chamber. "You call slavery generous? You call humiliation an honor?" He gestured to his team. "Dr. Hyunsu Choi, activate the data burst." Hyunsu pressed a button on his device. Suddenly, screens throughout the chamber lit up with information. Scientific formulas, technological designs, medical breakthroughs, artistic works. Humanity's complete knowledge database began uploading to the station's computers. "This is what partners share freely," Deho continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Advanced fusion technology that's cleaner than anything you've shown us. Quantum computing breakthroughs that solve problems in seconds. Biological innovations that could help every species here." The council members were frantically trying to stop the upload, but it was too late. The data was already spreading through their networks. "This is what we brought as gifts," Deho said, "but you'll never see what we could have built together. Because partners don't kneel to each other. Partners stand side by side." Veltar's crystal body was flashing angry red colors. "You think you can threaten the council? We have power beyond your imagination." "Power?" Deho smiled. "Real power doesn't need to make others kneel. Real power lifts others up." He turned to address the thousands of aliens watching. "How many of you are client species? How many of you were told to kneel and accept it as an honor? How many of you remember when you had dreams of your own?" Angry sounds came from the council platforms, but Deho could see something else in the crowd. Some of the aliens were looking at each other. Some were nodding. Captain Jiwoo's voice crackled through his communicator. "Ambassador, the fleet is ready for departure. All systems green. Communications officer." So Young Han's voice joined in. "Message prepared for galactic broadcast, sir." Deho looked back at the council one final time. "Humanity declines your generous offer of subjugation. We choose to make our own path among the stars." He began walking toward the exit. His team fell in beside him. Minho had activated a small device that projected a holographic message above their heads. "Dignity is not negotiable." "You'll be back," Kethvar roared behind them. "Your species needs us more than we need you. You'll come crawling back within a year." Deho didn't turn around. "No," he said quietly, but his words carried across the chamber's perfect acoustics. "We won't." As they reached the exit, So Young activated her broadcast. A simple message went out to every system in the galaxy, to all free species. Humanity extends an invitation to build something better. Partners wanted. Servants need not apply. The chamber erupted in chaos behind them as they left. Some aliens were angry, others confused. But Deho noticed something that made him smile. Some were following them toward the exit. Engineer Min Ho had left behind one final gift, a small device attached to the ceremonial platform. It would ensure that everything that happened here today would be remembered exactly as it occurred. The council could lie about what happened, but they couldn't change the truth. As they walked through the station's corridors toward their ship, Deho felt something he hadn't felt in days. Hope. They had walked away from power. But they had kept something more valuable. They had kept their dignity. 10 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. Dr. Taimin Jung stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital station, watching cargo ships arrive from the outer colonies. He remembered the day the human fleet returned from Nexus Prime. Everyone had expected war or economic collapse. Instead, something amazing had happened. Humanity had gotten to work. Director Jung, his assistant called from across the room. The morning reports are ready. Taemin had been chosen to lead the Seoul Defense Initiative after Ambassador Daeho Kim retired to write his memoirs. The job was bigger than anyone had imagined 10 years ago. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore. It was building something entirely new. He walked to the central command room where Chief Engineer Hee Jin-ko was reviewing construction reports. "How are the new ships coming along?" he asked. "Better than expected," she replied, showing him holographic displays of sleek vessels under construction. "The hybrid fusion quantum drives are working perfectly. We can cross the galaxy in half the time it takes Council ships." "And they're completely human-designed?" "Well, mostly," Hye-jin smiled. "We had some help from the Krell refugees you rescued last month. Their mathematical approaches are incredible. The Krell were just one of dozens of species that had contacted Earth after the famous walkout. They had been a Council client species for centuries until they declared independence and fled to human space. Now they were partners in humanity's growing network. Researcher Dong-wook Im entered the room carrying a data pad. "Director, the Bioadaptive Technology Project just achieved a major breakthrough. We can now interface with any known alien technology within minutes." "How does it work?" Taemin asked. "Instead of trying to build one system that works for everyone, we built systems that adapt to whoever uses them," Dong-wook explained. "A Krell can use human computers. Humans can operate Thylorian machinery. It's like having a universal translator for technology." Taemin nodded approvingly. This was the kind of innovation that happened when species worked together as equals instead of masters and servants. Admiral Ye-jin Seo's voice came over the communication system. "Director, we have visitors requesting permission to enter the system." "Identify them," Taemin replied. 3 ships, unknown design. They're broadcasting the standard friendship codes that humanity distributed after the walkout. Taemin smiled. "More refugees from Council space, probably." "Grant them permission to dock. Send the usual welcome package." The welcome package had become famous throughout the galaxy. Food, medical supplies, temporary housing, and most importantly, a simple message: "You are among friends now." Dr. Woo Jin Bae, humanity's leading expert on alien cultures, joined them in the command room. He had been studying the effects of the walkout on galactic politics for years. "The Council is having problems," he reported. 3 more client species declared independence this month. The Vorthak are demanding military action, but the Draken Empire is dealing with their own rebellion. "What kind of rebellion?" Taemin asked. "Young Draken warriors who don't want to follow the old ways," Woo Jin explained. "They've been reading human philosophy and asking why they need to obey the war marshal without question." This wasn't unusual. Human ideas had been spreading through the galaxy like wildfire. Not through conquest or forced conversion, but through simple example. Species saw that humans and their partners were happier, more creative, and more prosperous than Council members. Chief Engineer Hye-jin brought up a star map showing the current situation. Blue dots marked human colonies and partner species. Red dots showed Council territory. Green dots represented independent worlds that traded with both sides. "Look at the pattern," she said. 10 years ago, the Council controlled 80% of known space. Now it's down to 40%. "And we're not even trying to expand aggressively," Dong-wook added. "We just build good places to live, and people want to join us." The door opened, and Captain So-young entered. She had been promoted after serving as communications officer during the famous walkout. Now she ran Earth's intelligence network. "Director, we've intercepted some interesting council communications," she said. "They're planning to send an envoy to Earth." An envoy? Taemin was surprised. After 10 years of silence, the message is from Philosopher Prime Veltar himself. He wants to discuss renewed diplomatic contact with humanity. The room fell quiet. Everyone remembered the crystal alien who had mocked human achievements and demanded submission. "What's our response?" Hyojin asked. Taemin thought for a moment. During the past decade, humanity had built colonies on 50 worlds. They had formed partnerships with 37 different species. They had created technologies that made council science look outdated. Most importantly, they had proven that cooperation worked better than domination. "Send the standard response," he said finally. So Young smiled. The standard response had been Dr. Soo-Jin Park's idea. She now served as humanity's Director of Galactic Relations. "We appreciate the Council's interest in establishing diplomatic relations," So Young recited from memory. "Please submit your application to the Galactic Cooperation Network. All applications are reviewed fairly and without prejudice. Processing time is approximately 6 standard months." The room erupted in laughter. The idea of the mighty Galactic Council having to fill out an application like any other species was delicious irony. "Are they actually going to apply?" Dongwook asked. "Unknown," So Young replied, "but 3 of their former client species have already submitted applications this week." Admiral Ye Jin's voice came over the speakers again. "Director, those 3 ships we let in? They're from the Draken Empire. They're requesting political asylum." "Draken refugees?" Taemin was shocked. The Draken had been among the most arrogant council members. "Young warriors and their families," Ye Jin confirmed. "They say they don't want to serve a system that treats other species as property." Taemin looked around the room at his team. These people had helped build something remarkable, not through conquest or threats, but through simple decency and respect. "Send them the welcome package," he said, "and make sure they know they're safe here." Later that day, Taemin visited the retired ambassador Daeho Kim at his home. The old diplomat was tending to his garden, growing vegetables from Earth alongside plants from a dozen different worlds. "The council wants to talk," Taemin told him. Daeho didn't look up from his plants. "I heard. What do you think they want?" "Probably to find a way back to relevance," Taemin replied. "Their empire is crumbling." "Good," Daeho said simply. "Maybe now they'll learn what we tried to teach them 10 years ago." "Which is?" The old ambassador finally looked up, his eyes twinkling. "That respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn." In orbit above them, ships from 20 different species worked together to build humanity's newest space station. It would serve as the headquarters for the Galactic Cooperation Network, where any species could join as equals. The Council had taught humanity an important lesson 10 years ago. Sometimes the best response to a rigged game is to stop playing and build a better one. 25 years after the walkout, Director Daeho Kim stood at the podium of the largest amphitheater ever built. The old ambassador was now 73 years old, but his voice was still strong. Around him, representatives from 93. Different species filled the vast space. The first Galactic Cooperation Network Summit was about to begin. He looked out at the crowd and marveled at how much had changed. Humans sat next to former council client species who had declared independence. Refugees from collapsed empires worked alongside species that had never known oppression. Former enemies had become partners. In the front row, he could see his old team. Dr. Soo-Jin Park, now the network's director of scientific exchange, smiled at him encouragingly. Admiral Ye-Jin Seo, commander of the largest fleet in known space, gave him a small salute. Engineer Min Ho-yoon, who had designed this very amphitheater, nodded with pride. 25 years ago, Daeho began, his words carried across the amphitheater by perfect acoustics. We were told we weren't good enough to sit at their table, so we built our own, and we invite everyone to join us as equals." The crowd erupted in cheers. Sounds of approval came from dozens of different species. Some clapped, others made musical tones, and a few flashed colorful lights. The story of how they had reached this moment was remarkable. After the Council's first attempt to reconnect 15 years ago had failed, things had moved quickly. The Draken Empire had been the first major council member to break away, torn apart by civil war between the old guard and young warriors who wanted freedom. The Zephyrian Collective had lasted longer, but their rigid group mind couldn't adapt to the changing galaxy. Independent worlds stopped trading with them. Their client species fled to human space. Eventually, even their own people began asking for individual rights. The Vorthok had been the last holdouts. Their crystal cities had seemed eternal, their philosophy unshakable. But philosophy meant nothing when your empire crumbled around you. Last month, even they had submitted an application to join the network. Director Tae-min Jung walked onto the stage to give his report on the network's achievements. At 55, he had spent most of his adult life building this new galactic community. "The numbers tell the story," he announced. 93 member species, over 10,000 worlds, 0 wars between members in 25 years. Crime rates down 60% compared to Council space. Scientific advancement up 400%. But the real achievement wasn't in numbers. It was in the faces Daeho could see in the crowd. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together on joint projects. Former slaves sat in the same rows as their former masters, both now equal partners in something bigger than either could have built alone. Dr. Wu Jinbei took the stage to present his research on galactic social development. "The old council model was based on fear and dominance," he explained. "Species obeyed because they were afraid of punishment, but fear doesn't inspire innovation or loyalty." He showed holographic displays comparing the old council territories with network space. "The network model is based on mutual benefit. Species cooperate because working together makes everyone stronger." The audience listened carefully as he explained how this simple change had transformed everything. Art flourished when different cultures shared ideas freely. Science advanced when researchers from different species worked together. Trade grew when everyone benefited from agreements. Chief Engineer Hae-Jin Ko presented the technological achievements. Hybrid technologies that combine the best ideas from multiple species, universal adaptation systems that let anyone use any technology, clean energy sources that can power entire solar systems. The most impressive achievement was the network's shipbuilding program. Admiral Ye-Jin Seo explained how vessels built by multiple species working together were superior to anything the old council had ever created. A human-designed hull with Krell mathematical systems, Thylorian energy cores, and Draken defensive systems, she said, showing images of the newest ships. No single species could have built these alone. But the presentation everyone was waiting for came from an unexpected source. Former War Marshal Kethvar of the Draken Empire walked slowly onto the stage. The massive, red-skinned alien looked older now, his armor replaced by simple civilian clothes. The amphitheater fell silent. Many species remembered his arrogant words from 25 years ago. "I stand before you to ask forgiveness," he said, his deep voice carrying clearly through the space. 25 years ago, I called humans children. I said they needed our guidance. I was wrong." He looked directly at Daeho. "You tried to offer us partnership. We offered you servitude. You walked away with dignity. We were left with nothing but our pride." The Draken's words carried weight because everyone knew his story. After the Empire collapsed, he had spent years as a refugee in human space. He had seen firsthand how the network treated former enemies with respect and kindness. "The network saved my people when our own government abandoned us," he continued. You gave us homes, jobs, and most importantly, hope. You proved that strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. Former sub-voice Thisara of the Zephyrian Collective spoke next. The flowing alien had learned to exist as an individual after the collective's group mind dissolved. We thought unity meant everyone thinking the same thoughts, Thisara said. The network taught us that real unity comes from different minds working toward the same goals. Even philosopher Prime Veltar, the crystal alien who had mocked human achievements, had something to say. Its chiming voice was subdued, humble. We believed we had achieved perfection, it admitted, but perfection that cannot grow is actually death. The network showed us that improvement never ends. As the day went on, speaker after speaker told similar stories. Species that had been enemies learning to cooperate, refugees finding new homes, scientists making breakthroughs that benefited everyone. But the most powerful moment came at the end, when Deho returned to the podium for his closing remarks. 25 years ago, 12 species thought they ruled the galaxy, he said. They had power, technology, and ancient traditions. But they forgot the most important thing. He paused, looking out at the diverse crowd before him. They forgot that real strength doesn't come from making others kneel. It comes from helping them stand. The applause lasted for 10 minutes. When it finally ended, Deho smiled at the crowd. Welcome to the future, he said. A future we'll build together. Outside the amphitheater, the old Nexus Prime space station hung empty in space. The Council's grand chambers had been abandoned for years, a monument to the price of pride. But here, in humanity's space, something new had taken its place. Something built on respect, cooperation, and the simple idea that everyone deserved a seat at the table. The galaxy had chosen its future, and it was brighter than anyone had imagined.